Greetings, my name is Rainey Vijayvira. I'm the Assistant Director of Advising and Student Services for the College of Science, and this is our Making the Grade presentation. So today we will explore the academic eligibility process and how the spring 2020 term has affected those processes. We'll review the academic support plan. We'll look at financial aid, satisfactory academic appeals, GROs, general petitions, campus resources, and then following up with your academic advisor. So to kind of begin, we'll explain what the policy is. So back in fall 2019, the university changed their former academic standing progress. So you may have heard things like probation, disqualification policies. So our new policy is academic eligibility, and there are 5 different statuses, so I will go through those one by one. So the first status is eligible. So all of our students start off as eligible, which is good standing, a 2.0 cumulative GPA or higher. And to continue in your eligible status, you need to earn and maintain at least a 2.0 GPA to continue enrolling in your classes. The next standing is academic warning, and this happens when a student who is previously eligible does not earn a 2.0 or higher cumulative GPA. So let's say you started your spring semester with a 2.0, but then by the end of that semester you had a 1.75. You would then change from eligible to academic warning. So students on academic warning can continue enrolling in classes, but you're going to be contacted by your advisor, by the college, to potentially complete some type of intervention plan and completing an academic support plan, which we'll discuss shortly. So if a student starts their semester on academic warning, but then by the end of that semester earns a 2.0 GPA or higher, you will then revert back to the eligible status. The next status that we're going to look at is academic review, and this happens when a student earns a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or higher, but then has a semester GPA below 2.0. So an example could be a sophomore student who has a 3.0 cumulative GPA, but then at the end of their semester, they had a bad semester, they earned a 1.5 semester GPA. So they're still eligible, they're in good standing, their cumulative GPA is 3.0, but they struggled that semester. So we'll reach out to you, the College of Science may reach out, your academic advisor, just to kind of touch base and see, hey, did something happen? What are some options? Can we explore grade replacement opportunity? Just to help you get back on track. The next status is academic probation, and this occurs when a student begins their semester on warning and they do not finish their semester with a 2.0 or higher. So you'll move from warning to probation if this occurs. So students with the academic probation status, you can still enroll in your classes, but you're going to be required to participate in some additional programming from the College of Science and from the university's Student Success and Retention Innovation Program. They are also called SSRI, so you may have heard of them. So this office will be able to provide even further support for students, potentially give you kind of a coach or a learning specialist that can really assess and evaluate what the barriers might be and help you develop a plan to get back on track. So students who begin on academic probation but then do not earn a cumulative GPA of 2.0 will go to ineligible, but if you do raise your GPA to above 2.0, you return to the eligible status. So the final status is ineligible, and as I mentioned just a minute ago, this happens when a student starts on probation and does not earn a 2.0 or higher GPA. So what happens to these students is they're blocked from registration, so you can't enroll for your future term classes, but you can submit an appeal. So if a student was having extenuating circumstances, something preventing them from reaching that 2.0 goal, we recommend that you file an appeal so that we can give you one more semester of academic probation status so that you can continue working to get to that 2.0 mark. So if your appeal is granted, you will be allowed to enroll in your future semester's classes, And we'll want to monitor the information that we have on your appeals. So if we recommended taking fewer units or using specific campus resources, we will expect that you do that to continue for one more semester on academic probation. So those are the 5 different statuses. At this point, the appeal process is still being developed. So once we have that in place at the end of this semester, we'll be able to walk you through that should you need to file an appeal. So determining your current status. So if you had attended in spring 2020 and you started your semester as eligible, we did not make any changes to eligible. So students who are eligible, they continue being eligible. If students started on warning for the spring 20 semester, the fall semester, you're still on warning unless you raised your GPA above to 2.0. So you're not going to move from warning to probation due to the nature of all the extenuating circumstances that happened due to the COVID-19 and having to transition to fully online. So whatever status you were in the spring 2020 is what you currently are now for fall 2020. The only status that will update is if you get back to eligible. So if you were on warning, review, probation, and then you return to eligible, we will make that update. So basically, it's kind of like a grace period, or one semester just allows you to continue in your current status. And then after this semester, we will then update your academic eligibility. You may have heard of academic support plans. So these are documents that live in your UAccess Student Center that are initiated and created by your academic advisor. So it's an electronic plan for informational purposes. Again, you can find this in your Student Center. And your advisor can go in and customize your academic support plan. They can put in action items. They can recommend GRO for certain classes. So it's a really great way to kind of assess how things have been going and potentially give recommendations such as GRO or course repeat or whatever the case may be to help you get back on track. They might set goals for GPAs, how many units you should be taking, and so on. So this is an example of an academic support plan. So you can kind of see at the top we have student information, their biology. This is for the fall 2020 term. GPA, and then units of B to 2.0. So units of B to 2.0 is a really nice way to think of how many credits do I need to take to get to good standing, back to eligible. So this student would need 6 units of B grade to get to 2.0, and then of course nothing lower than a C. All right, so then reason for academic support plan. The advisor may select some of these or one of them, and then the rest kind of reads like a contract. So it'll start with some statements like, I understand to continue in this program of study, I must do the conditions outlined in this academic support plan. I will remain on either the probation or warning status until my GPA reaches 2.0, and that's when you will revert to eligible. I will earn a minimum 2.0 semester GPA, no grade lower than a C. So it's just giving you some outlines that we're hoping you to follow and strive for. So the kind of end of the academic support plan, there's space here. So right now this isn't customized, but your academic advisor may go in and say, okay, for the fall 2020 term, I want you to be capped at 12 units. Reduce your units of B needed to 2.0 by a certain amount, no grade lower than a C, and then potentially give you grade requirements for certain classes or indicate GRO. So once your advisor has filled this out, they will sign off and they will ask you to contact them to schedule an appointment to review this. So please reach out to your academic advisor if you haven't heard from them yet about your academic support plan, just so you can get on track for this semester and understand what is required of you. So this is what the end of the document looks like. There's a place for student signature, advisor signature, and that will just live in your UAccess Student Center. All right, moving on to grade point average. So GPA calculation, we're going to review how the University of Arizona approaches this. Since some schools use different systems, we will discuss how we calculate grades. So we're using a 4.0 scale. So A's are worth 4, B's are worth 3, C's are worth 2, D's are 1, and then E's, you do not earn any grade points. So GPA is basically taking your total points or grade points that you earn and you divide it by how many units attempted, and that's how you calculate your GPA. So we'll just run through this example. So this is a sample schedule with a student who had chemistry, psychology, math, Spanish, and English. These are the grades that they took, or earned, and then how many units each course was worth. So what we'll do is count up how many units of A, B, C, D, and E, but we can see this student didn't have any C grades, which is why we kind of omitted that. So what we'll do is count up how many units of A grade the student had. We can see in psychology they earned an A, so we'll put 3 units. B grades, we just had that 4-unit Spanish class, so we'll put that there. For D grades, the student had their math class, which is 4, and then their English, which was 3, so that's how we get 7. And then our E grades was 4 units, so we'll plug that there. So now we can have our total units, and what we want to do to get to our total points is to multiply units by the GPA scale of 4.0. So A's are worth 4 points, like I mentioned, B's are worth 3 points, D's are 1, and E's are 0. And what we'll do is we'll multiply units by point values, and then we get your total points. So 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 3 is 12, 7 times 1 is 7, and then 4 times 0 is 0. So now we have our calculation, and we'll take total points, which is 31, divided by total units, which was 18, and in this case, this leads to a 1.722 cumulative GPA. So you could calculate your GPA on your own. You can also utilize some resources that we have through the University of Arizona. So this is our advising resource website. So we have advising.arizona.edu. And you'll notice under online tools, we have grade calculators. So the different grade calculators that you can utilize are for just your GPA calculation, which is the example that I just showed you. There's a GPA calculator for calculating your current semester GPA based on final grades. So if you're trying to project, what will my GPA be if I get an A in physics, if I get a B in Spanish, etc. And then we have a target GPA calculator, which determines how many units of A or B grades are needed to achieve a target GPA. This one's exceptionally handy since you can kind of get an idea if you're setting some goals. For example, if you have a 3.0 GPA and you want to know what it will take to get to that 3.5 level, we can do some calculations. So I'm actually going to demo this really quickly. So I've gone to the advising.arizona.edu website, the Advising Resource Center. We're going to select online tools and then grade calculators. So these were the 3 options. I'm going to do this target GPA calculator. So as I mentioned, I think in my example, I want to know what it takes to get to a 3.5 GPA. So let's say your current GPA is a 3.0 and you're a fairly new student. Let's say you've taken 15 credits. We're going to calculate how many units of A we're going to need to get to a 3.5. So in this student's case, they need to get 15 credits of A grades to jump from a 3.0 to a 3.5. So I'm going to reset this and do another sample. So let's say the student does want a 3.5. They're currently sitting at a 3.0, but let's say they're a lot more advanced in their studies. They're now a junior. So they have 60 units taken. Going to calculate that. And now you can see this number jumped drastically. It went from 15 to 60. So basically the point to take here is the more units you've completed, the harder it is to raise your GPA. The fewer units you've taken, you still have a lot of time to improve your grades and raise your GPA. So definitely check out this grade calculator and the other 2 that are on this website. It's a great way to predict, kind of set goals, and go from there. All right. So the next topic we're going to look at is the concept of units of B to 2.0. So this is a number that we look at just to determine what grades you need to achieve the 2.0 mark. So in this case, this is an example from UAccess before the modernization that happened in July. So some of my screenshots are older, but you can still find this information in your UAccess Student Center under enrollment and then grades. So in this case, the student's units of B to 2.0 is 26. We can see their cumulative GPA is 0.8, and then the calculation to do that was they had 10 grade points and then 13 units. So that's how we get to this term GPA. For cumulative GPA, they had 20 grade points divided by 23 units. So this student, again, needs 26 units of B grades, or if we divide that by 2, it's 13, and that's how many units of A grade you need to raise your GPA. So check out your grades tab and summaries to determine your units of B to 2.0. Your academic advisor will also help you assess this. All right, so academic eligibility can affect your financial aid. So the type of aid I'm discussing right now will be for federal financial aid, federal grants, and loans. Scholarships will also have GPA requirements, but this is specific to financial aid and federal financial aid. So to qualify for grants and loans, financial aid is looking for 3 things for your aid to disperse. So the first one is your cumulative GPA, and we're just looking for a 2.0 mark for your GPA requirements. Then we have this next requirement called PACE. So it's a completion of a percentage of your units. So they will only look at a maximum of 12 units, and what you need to complete is 2/3 of your attempted units. So basically, PACE means you're completing 2/3 of your attempted units out of a max of 12. So 8 credits every semester to stay on target for PACE. The final one is time frame. So if you've accumulated a lot of credits and you aren't applying to graduate, financial aid will be like, hey, we funded you for the past 5 years. Why aren't you graduating? Did you change your major, or did something happen that made you take all these credits? So those are the 3 things. The most common ones that we see are, below a 2.0 GPA or not satisfying PACE. So you're maybe completing 50% of your attempted units. So the first semester that you violate your financial aid requirements, it's called just a financial aid warning. So you're 1 semester away from potentially losing your financial aid eligibility. No action is needed. You don't need to fill out any paperwork or anything. The only thing we're looking for is for you to correct whatever the problem is. So if it was a GPA issue, we need to get you back to a 2.0 by the end of the semester. Or if it was PACE, we need to make sure you're completing units successfully to get that raised. So as long as you meet your financial aid requirements, so PACE, time frame, and GPA, your status goes back to okay. However, if you have a consecutive semester of not meeting the requirements for GPA, PACE, or time frame, you will then be placed on financial aid suspension. And this means you might lose your financial aid eligibility, but you can appeal it. So we have the Satisfactory Academic Progress Appeal Form, which is something you'll fill out with your academic advisor, and it's a form available through the financial aid website, and they're looking for a statement that addresses kind of what the barriers were from allowing you to be successful and have your 2.0 GPA or meet your PACE standards. So an advisor will meet with you to fill this out, and the advisor will also help you plan your classes for the semester and set some goals. And some important things to know about your Satisfactory Academic Progress Appeal, or SAP appeal, is the courses that you list on here, you must adhere to. So if you deviate and change your schedule, you may have to fill out the SAP appeal again, or just an addendum so that financial aid knows that a change was made. So it's very important to communicate with the financial aid office should you need to alter the terms of your SAP appeal form. So some of the things that we'll look for is, does the student have GROs available to help them? Are they very close to that 2.0? What are the mechanisms in place to help you get your PACE met? Maybe it's taking fewer units and ensuring you're completing all your classes. So that's kind of the review process with the advisors. So once your advisor signs your SAP appeal, you then submit it to the financial aid office and they will get back to you. The filing deadlines, there are priority filing deadlines. So make sure that if you know right away that, hey, I didn't make that 2.0 and I have 2 consecutive semesters of not meeting 2.0 or PACE, you're going to need to file a SAP appeal. So the sooner you get it done and turned in, the better. You can look at the filing priority deadlines on the financial aid website. So due to the U-Access modernization program that took place in July 2020, my screenshots of these are a little bit different than what you probably see now in your student center. But essentially what you want to look for is your financial aid tab in U-Access. So you're going to click that. And there should be a little notice for satisfactory academic progress if you're using federal financial aid. So you can click on that and it will give you a summary of what's happening. So this was an example for a student who was not eligible. They're on financial aid suspension for spring 2019. And what we can see is it gives you a little table and letting you know what you meet and what you don't meet. So academic standing, we're meeting SAP standards. So that's all good. Unit completion or PACE percentage. So as I mentioned, you need 2/3 of attempted units complete. The student is right around 48 instead of that 66 mark. So they're violating their PACE standards. Maximum time frame the student is meeting, and then minimum cumulative GPA. So the student has a 1.281 GPA, so they're not meeting SAP standards. So you can determine based on your financial aid tab which requirements you meet or don't meet, and then work with your academic advisor to file a SAP appeal. So, some strategies for satisfying SAP and improving your GPA. So, if you're not meeting PACE, so if you're not completing enough units to complete 2/3 of attempted units, we recommend that you only enroll in the number of units that you know you can successfully complete. So, the thing with PACE is the more credits you complete successfully, it will accelerate your PACE rehabilitation. So don't take 19 credits and then end up dropping like half of them. It's better to just maybe sign up for 12 credits, make sure they're all doable, that you'll be successful in these courses, and that will help you get back on track for PACE. Some other tidbits that are important. The summer and winter sessions do affect financial aid eligibility. So if you take a class in the summer and it bumps you back up to 2.0, that's perfect. Then you won't need to file a SAP appeal. However, if you started on warning for the spring term and then maybe take a summer class and you lower your GPA, then you potentially might need to file a SAP appeal. So keep in mind that academic advisors, we are not the experts in financial aid policies. So we know the basics just to help students get started. However, sometimes financial aid can get very complicated, especially if you have multiple types of aid, so grants, loans, scholarships. So it's always best to work directly with the financial aid office. So if you go to their website, there's different ways in which you can communicate with them. They have contact us email portal, you can give them a call, or potentially go in person. Don't procrastinate on filing SAP appeals or asking questions. As you might know, during the beginning of the semester, their office is extremely busy. So if you can get your questions in sooner rather than later, it will help you just get on track for financial aid purposes. So some other things that you can do for helping your GPA, we're going to talk a little bit about repeating a course and then also the grade replacement opportunity. So an example is, let's say you took English 102 and you failed it. You could retake that same class. You can sign up for English 102 again, and let's say the second attempt you earn an A. What happens is on your transcripts, both attempts show up, but the two grades average together. So basically an A and an E is a C for GPA purposes. So that's how repeating a class works. We do have some policies on course repeat limits. So UAccess will let you sign up for classes at least 3 times before it blocks you from enrollment. So keep that in mind as well. There are course repeat limits. There are exemptions to that, so you can always work with your advisor. Okay, so then the grade replacement opportunity, how this is different in repeating a course is we have an internal policy called GRO that lets you replace your original grade with whatever your second grade is in the repeat in terms of GPA calculation. So let's use the English example again. You took English 102, failed it, but then you file a GRO. The original grade of E will not calculate for GPA purposes, and then your new grade will. So the A grade is what's going to count for GPA. Your original grades will always remain on your transcript, but for calculating GPA purposes, the GRO only looks at the second attempt. So it can be a really fast way to raise your GPA. You're allowed to do 3 GROs, so actually we'll just jump into how GRO works in the policy. So you can't have earned a bachelor's degree. Grades of C or D and E are the only grades eligible for GRO. You have to have fewer than 60 University of Arizona credits at the time of application for GRO. You can only GRO one or a class once, so you can't take Math 120R, GRO it, and then GRO it again. And then the course has to be identical. So if you took Math 120R, you have to repeat 120R, same number and title. So Gen Eds, let's say you took Psychology 150A, Structure of Mind and Behavior, you must take the same exact course, Psychology 150A. You wouldn't be able to replace it with like Sociology 150A. They have to be identical. You are allowed to GRO 3 classes with the GRO policy. This policy changed over the summer of 2020. Previously, it was 3 courses up to 10 units, whichever cap you reach first, but now they've simplified it and they just have a blanket of you can GRO 3 classes. So some things to know about GRO is there is a filing deadline. GRO filing opens up the first day that that class begins. So we have at U of A different classes that have different start and end dates. So we have 7-week classes, we have 12-week classes, just various sessions. So it always the filing always opens on the first day of class. The deadline to file is by the withdrawal deadline. So this is another component of GRO that has also changed. Previously, you had to file within the first about 3 weeks of the semester, but now it's extended to the first 10 weeks. This is for regular term classes. So GRO deadlines will be shortened for like 7-week or dynamically dated classes, so you'll have to check the registration dates and deadlines to determine the actual deadline. As I mentioned, the original grade always remains on your transcript. However, with the GRO, the first grade will not calculate in GPA, and then the second attempt is what counts. So before filing your GRO, make sure you're comfortable with the attempt. Like, it's going to be a successful experience, so you don't have to file it the very first day of classes. You can wait like a week or 2, or even a little bit longer now to decide if you want to file your GRO, because once you file that GRO, it's done. You don't get it back if you drop the class. So we want to make sure you are sure that it will be a good attempt. GRO is an institutional policy and may not be honored by other schools. So for example, if you transfer or apply to like graduate or professional schools, the original grade will still get calculated into your cumulative GPA. Just keep that in mind. All right, so how to file a GRO. You'll go to your UAccess Student Center. You're going to click on enrollment, drop down to GRO. So that's the procedure in your UAccess student. So definitely talk to your advisors to figure out which classes are best to GRO. Sometimes students will GRO 1-unit classes, which really isn't effective. A 1-credit class doesn't impact your GPA as much as a 4 or even 5-credit class could. So be strategic about what you GRO. File 1 GRO at a time. So if you need to GRO 2 classes, first do your math GRO, go back, make sure everything goes through, and then do a second filing for English or whatever the case is. If you file multiple GROs at the same time, sometimes they don't go through. So when you're filing your GRO, you will get some text that looks like this. So it's basically the policies in order to be eligible for GRO. So you're going to have to click, I've read these and accept the terms of the policy. And then how you can ensure that you have your GRO processed is you can go to this enrollment tab and then look at your course history. And then this will show potential GRO for Spanish 102. So you can make sure the GRO went through properly. Okay, the next topic is general petitions. So the university has a procedure in place for students who might need an exception to policy, and general petitions are one of those resources that you can potentially consider pursuing. So, for example, if a student had a medical issue or a personal emergency, extenuating circumstances, or had some other things going on, like Title IX violations, they can ask to retroactively withdraw from the semester. So we're looking for something that affected your ability to participate and continue in your courses. So the medical general petition can be found in your student center in UAccess, and you're going to file directly through UAccess. All your medical stuff will go through there. And the professionals that review this are just doctors to protect your privacy. So only medical experts will review your petition if it's medical in nature. It must be your own illness or hospitalization. It can't be maybe you were caring for a family member's illness. That would be more of an extenuating circumstance. So medical issues, your own medical issue, in your student center, you'll be able to kind of follow the steps to process that. The extenuating circumstances general petition. So an example could be if a student was a victim of a crime, and let's say maybe in October, late October, their car was broken into and like they lost their laptop, all their notes and backpack, etc. That's very disruptive to your education, and you probably weren't able to continue or to the level of what you needed to do in your classes. So if you didn't do a complete withdrawal at the time, you can kind of go back and say, hey, in retrospect, I should have withdrawn from the semester. It, really affected me. So what we're looking for in an extenuating circumstances general petition is a packet. So it's going to contain a cover form, which you can get through my office or through the registrar's office online. You have the ability to provide a personal statement to explain what the nature of your circumstances were. And then each class that you stayed enrolled in will have to file an instructor statement form. So each instructor will have to fill out a form saying, the so-and-so student was in my class, they stopped attending on this day, whether or not they took the final exam. So that's the nature of the instructor statement forms. There is a 1-year filing deadline, so make sure if you need to file a general petition, you do it within that window. And then, I skipped documentation. So any evidence that you can include to support what happened. So, for example, the crime example, a police report would be helpful. So just depending on the nature of your situation, an advisor can talk to you and let you know whether a general petition could be a good option for you. So definitely ask your advisor if this is something that you might need to pursue or want to pursue. And then my office can provide like a read through of your packet, give you some advice. So you can always email science@arizona.edu. So this is particularly for extenuating circumstances petitions. Medical will be on your own through your UAccess Student Center, but we can still coach you through it. Title IX violations, so this office works with you directly if you want to file a petition here. And this office, OIE, Office of Institutional Equity, they're ensuring that the institution is upholding basic rights. So if you have any issues due to race, class, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or are a victim of a Title IX type situation, you will work with this office. All right. So moving on to resources. There are several campus resources out there available to you. I mean, there's numerous things that you can try and get some assistance. So for example, we've kind of just broken up the categories. So academic resources, we have the think tank, obviously your academic advisors. Some of your departments might have peer advisors, or they could have mentors and programs like that to help you kind of get on track. We also have the writing skills improvement program, so tutoring, workshops, and such. With the library, we have 7 libraries on campus where you can borrow equipment. So if your computer dies or just something happens, you can borrow laptops and other equipment. You can book study rooms. You can work with a librarian to help you do research. So definitely utilize these resources at the library. Of course, financial resources can be a huge component. So knowing that there are Scholarship Universe, Financial Aid Office, Take Charge Cats. These are great resources to kind of understand finances and look for additional sources of funding. And then just student services and cultural organizations, just clubs, centers that you can go to. So lots of things that you can do to help you connect, feel a part of a community, and get additional support and resources through different clubs and organizations. And then, of course, we have campus health, counseling and psychological services. So campus health will just work with your general health needs. The CAPS, counseling and psychology services, will work on stress management, counseling, anxiety. So definitely utilize these resources. They do have remote services available for students as well. All right, to kind of recap where we're at, with academic eligibility, this just kind of summarizes how we assess things. So at the end of each semester, we'll look at your GPA, and if you earn a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or higher, you will remain eligible to continue. So you get to enroll in your next semester's classes. You don't need to participate in any interventions or things of that nature. If you started your semester on academic warning, and then by the end of the term you're still at below a 2.0, 2 things could happen. We might move you to the A Center for no major selected. So some of the things that we look at when making this consideration to move you to no major selected is how many units of B needed to 2.0 do you have? If it's greater than 18, you'll get moved, but if it's less, you'll be able to continue. If you are doing well in gen eds and foundations like English, second language, 150s, 160s, and so on, but you're not doing well in like math and science, we may move you to A Center, and they will help you look at major exploration and options. So that's one thing that could happen. However, if you're on warning and then continue to probation, the things that we want to look for with our students to continue in College of Science are our students having good communication with their advisors? Are they working out a plan, meeting regularly? Do we know if there's like a general petition pending for extenuating circumstances? Are there plans for GROing that will help with major classes? So those are just kind of some of the things that could potentially happen with being on academic probation. And then finally, if you started on academic probation and your cumulative GPA is less than 2.0, you move to ineligible. So you will automatically be placed to ineligible, and you will no longer be able to register for classes. You could take a break and then seek readmission, but if you want to continue at U of A, you can file an appeal. So the appeal process, as I mentioned earlier in this presentation, is still being hashed out. So we'll give you more information about that by the end of this semester. So if you had extenuating circumstances and you need at least one more semester to get to that 2.0, we will help you work on an appeal. So moving forward, what are your next steps? So we have the academic support plans in UAccess. Make sure you follow up with your academic advisor. So we want to have you talk to your advisors to see, should you be doing a petition or GROing, or what are some of the options to help you get back on track? Do you need to do a SAP appeal? So meeting with your advisors as soon as possible is imperative if you haven't done so already. And then assessing your own strengths and limitations. So you know yourself, and if you feel like you've overloaded or you have a lot of commitments, you might want to reassess that and try to plan accordingly. So with planning, we want you to get organized using planners, alarms, reminders, just whatever you can do to stay on track for time management and getting everything done that you need to in your academics. Things that are really key, knowing your dates and deadlines. So if you need to make a change of schedule, be sure you're working with the registration dates and deadlines so you can kind of see when's the last day to add, when's the last day to drop, what are the different terms and sessions. So we have 7-week, dynamically dated, etc. So your advisor may send you something called a semester on a page. That's something our office creates to help students see all the dates and deadlines pertinent to the semester. So look for that. Your email and communication is very important. U of A email is the official means of communication. Make sure you're checking your email a few times a day, and check D2L daily for reminders. So your professors might give you grade updates and just assignment updates. So check D2L regularly. Utilize your campus resources. So whether they're academic or personal in nature, they're there to help you be successful. So if you want to check out think tanks, tutoring, or supplemental instruction, or even work on like stress and anxiety with counseling, that is definitely highly encouraged so you can be your best and do your best. Going to professors for office hours, or your TAs for office hours, or even just working with, like a study group, definitely start forming those connections and using them. Office hours, you don't want to wait until there's an issue, or you don't want to wait for tutoring as well. So tutoring, utilizing office hours from the start of the semester, just to, have that connection to your instructors, and before things get like too far gone, like you want to make sure you're actively using these resources proactively rather than reactively when it's kind of too late potentially. Self-assessment. So this is something we recommend doing kind of all the time, but in the middle of the semester, kind of see where your grades are. We're going to approach that drop deadline, usually late October. So what are the things that you might need if you're struggling? Is it office hours? Is it reducing your course load? Do you need some tutoring? So if it is having to do with your workload for your semester, is dropping a class an option? So talking to your advisor, making sure you're working on your goals, and knowing that you can modify. So just because you started off the semester and it looked a certain way, life happens when you're in college. We might need to adjust. So talk with your advisors. You can email me as well, or the director of advising, Robin Rarick. You can reach both of us through this science@email account. So definitely reach out to us. We're happy to work with you and point you to some resources. So this is our contact info. We're College of Science Office of Student Services. You can call us, you can email us, and we will get back to you within a business day usually. So that's the end of this presentation. I want to wish you the very best this semester. Bear down and reach out if you need anything. Thank you for watching.